Hi, everyone. We're here with the Sacred Inclusion Network, and we're here with Kim Rosen and Jami Sieber. Hope I pronounced her name right for a change. For community
Second
communion
time's
of
a
feast.
charm.
Communion of feasts and losses, which is not really doesn't sound like something to laugh about. But in any event, I was just asking Kim and Jami to explain why they've done this project. They're both esteemed artists, have done stuff all over the world, and yet they've want to do this. They're doing this project, and I just asked them to talk about that a little bit.
Sure. Thank you, Angelo, and thank you, the Sacred Inclusion Network, and to all of you who are willing to look into and turn toward which we're being called to experience these days and feel, which are the losses, the many layers of losses and grief. It takes a lot of courage to face that, to face what comes up, and what within our own aging, within our own losses, physical losses, our family, our community, our globe. And so out of that facing and turning toward, Kim came to me a little over a year ago and said, I want to do this album of poetry and music, and where the themes are around aging, loss, death, grief, gratitude. And given what had been happening in our own country and the world, it felt like an easy yes for me to respond. So over a year, we recorded this, created it out of improvisation, and it is our second album. Kim and I have been together for about 20 years doing poetry and music. And, one of the gifts of this particular album has been the communal gatherings, the community gatherings that have happened of deep listening, which is what this will be today. This is what our purpose of gathering here today is, to do a deep listening. And through that deep listening in a community, there is some way that we find our way to connection with ourselves, deeper connection to each other, and to this beautiful web of life. We remember love, we remember gratitude, we remember all that is causing us to feel deep sorrow or grief, and that they are connected. So, our plan today is to, do this little conversation, Kim and I, or share what we want to share, and then go into a deep listening of part of our album. Our album, Feast of Losses, is a little over an hour, but we've edited it down to about a half an hour, and then go into a writing exercise. And hopefully there will be time for some sharing if people are wanting to speak at that point. So Kim, do you?
And Kim, let's hear from you. This is your original idea. So
Angelo, first I just want to thank you for that beautiful meditation in the beginning. Although it was short, it felt so dense with importance. So thank you for that. And Jami also. And I'll just add to what Jami has said. I want to underline the communion part of the communion of grief and gratitude. And I really invite you in this moment to, if you feel able to or willing to turn your video on and put your screen on gallery. If you don't know what I mean, don't worry about it. But many of us have become Zoom savvy. And take a moment just to, as Angelo mentioned in the beginning, to look around the screen, because what brings me to poetry and brought me to poetry when I was a very young person, feeling very alone with my hunger for the depths of myself, which was not met in my post 50s family, was what brings me to poetry is a need to be with others in the turning towards what we in the Western world, anyway, have been taught to turn away from in ourselves. And that can be grief. It can be also almost any emotion, really. You know, that in this album, there are several tracks that hopefully you're going to want to get up and dance for. So it's not all Kleenex and weeping, although hopefully some of it is. But I want to be with you. And I want to be with you in the way that we can be when we step out, even for a moment, of the systemic denial of the deeper feelings that we're all, I think I can safely say we're all holding these deeper feelings, whether, as Jami said, whether it's personal or global, whether it's about the trees or about the about my mother, do you know, or about the last 26 species that fell off the globe, or about a girl in Maasai land who has to run away or she'll be married off when she's 13 years old. I find in our Western society that creating a container for those, I don't just want to say deep feelings, but the experiences that don't fit into the habitual controls of the mind. So it can be revelations, it can be insights, it can be memories, it can be feelings, but creating a container for that to happen in, whether it's me and Jami, the way that we made this album is we had the great good fortune to be able to go off to the coast of Washington. I think it was 3 or 4 times. I don't remember if it was 3 or 4 times. But we went for like 5-day sessions, and we went with nothing but the equipment, and we began every morning, and Jami would start playing whatever came to her spontaneously that had never been played before on the planet. And I would listen for the poems that I have learned by heart. And I will say, for those of you who don't know my work, the poems that I speak are most usually not poems that I myself have written. They're poems that have become prayers for me in my life. They're poems written by other people. And I'll say at the end of our poetry dive, the names of the poets whose poems we will have been listening to. But they're poets that some of you will know, poems by Mary Oliver or Lucille Clifton, or Ellen Bass, or I tend to focus towards modern poets because most other people don't. They move towards the wonderful poets we have from the past, whether it's Keats or Rumi. But I like people to know that there are living poets, or recent poets who have written powerful, a poem is a spell, a powerful spell to turn us inward towards what we might not be able to turn towards without the container of that poem. And here we have the container of each other's attention, which is a precious, precious communion. And we have the container of the music, which works its own alchemy in us. And all of this is about, I say that poetry and music uses the mind to unlock the mind. All of it is about unlocking the mind and the body's habits of holding against these feelings that maybe until now we had to hold against. Maybe our circumstances in the past were such that we had to, but we've made it. If you're on this call, we've made it. And it's no longer life or death to keep ourselves invulnerable to the deeper levels of ourselves. So I obviously I can talk on and on. I have no idea where we are in time.
Well, one thing I would love to add to what you're saying, Kim, is one of the ways that Kim and I have worked together is that our interest is in music and poetry being a dialogue. It's not like music is in the background, you know, supporting a poem, but that they dance together. So when you're listening, if you suddenly are having that feeling like, oh, I wish they'd turn down the music, you know, I can't hear what she just said, just relax into it. Just let whatever word was spoken, let it go and move on. If suddenly you're like, oh, I wish the poem would stop, just try to experience the alchemy of music and poetry together to, as what Kim says, undo the mind, to just let it go on a journey.
It's very similar to what's done in shamanic work. I know Angelo and Ian are in Ecuador, where I'm sure we could learn a lot about shamanic work from where you are. But often the shamanic drumbeat is there in order, in part, to, again, unlock the mind. So the meeting of the poetry and music, I will tell you the names of the poems and you can go out and find them, or you can even buy the album and get the list of poems. But the music and poetry is more like the shamanic drum that's there so that, and this is important, so that you can listen to yourself. What Jami and I are about is creating an environment in which your own self can bubble up, magnetized maybe by the poems or the music, and you can receive yourself. So you may hear every word of every poem, or you may hear the first word and be triggered into a memory or a vision, and that's what you came here to meet. So don't worry, you can get the album and listen to the music and poetry, and hopefully have a different experience every time you do. But this listening is really to create an alchemical container wherein the self can bubble up, your own experience, whatever you came here to meet in your own experiences of loss, letting go, aging, opening, with all the gratitude and griefs that come with that.
So I'm wondering if we should move toward you leading us into the listening, Kim.
Great. Yeah, so as Jami said, what we're going to do is we're going to, it's a little different for those of you who have been on a poetry dive with me. Instead of me speaking the poems to Jami's music, we're going to play sections of the album as the poetry dive. I'm going to guide us into it, and I will guide us out of it into a writing process that Jami will then bring us forth from. And what I'd like you to do is make yourself comfortable so that you can hear your computer, but you don't need to see it. So I'd like you to consciously disrupt the habitual entrainment to the screen. I mean, Ian and Angelo, you might have to stay entrained because of checking the technology. But everyone else, if you can even simply turn away from your screen, or better yet, yes, lie down on the floor, on a couch. And some people who are, who have been on poetry dives with us before will know you may want to move, you may want to stand up, you may want to dance during this process. As you hear the music come in, I'd like you to Gently close your eyes. Find out where your body can be most receptive to yourself. Is that sitting? Is it lying down? Is it standing and moving? Whatever it is, take a moment to wriggle your fingers so that the keys of the computer fall away. Perhaps to stretch your body a little bit so that it knows this isn't your ordinary webinar. Maybe roll your head around. Most important, take a few really deep cleansing breaths. Breaths that are deep enough so that they disrupt your habitual pattern of breathing, so that you feel the effects of added oxygen beginning to reach your fingertips, your toes. Deep, full breaths to begin to make the transition from looking out to opening the inner eyes, the inner ears, to what you've come here to meet of yourself as you listen to this series of poems and songs, this river of music and poetry to carry you into yourself. Wave of sorrow, do not drown me now. I see the island, still ahead somehow. I see the island, and its sands are fair. Wave of sorrow, take me there. Wave of sorrow, do not drown me now. I see the island, still ahead somehow. I see the island, and its sands are fair. Wave of sorrow, take me there. Walked through many lives, some of them my own, and I am not who I was. Though some principle of being abides, from which I struggle not to stray. When I look behind, as I am compelled to look before I can gather strength to proceed on my journey, I see the milestones dwindling toward the horizon and the slow fires trailing from the abandoned campsites over which scavenger angels wheel on heavy wings. Oh, I have made myself a tribe out of my true affections, and my tribe is scattered. How shall the heart be reconciled to its feast of losses? In a rising wind, the manic dust of my friends, those who fell along the way, bitterly stings my face. Yet I turn exulting somewhat, with my will intact to go wherever I need to go. And every stone on the road precious to me. In my darkest night, when the moon was covered and I roamed through wreckage, a nimbus-clouded voice directed me. Live in the layers, not on the litter. Though I lack the art to decipher it, no doubt the next chapter in my book of transformations is already written. I am not done with my changes. Wave of sorrow, do not drown me now. I see the island, still ahead somehow. I see the island, and its sands are fair. Wave of sorrow, take me there. Johnny, the kitchen sink has been clogged for days. Some utensil probably fell down there, and the Drano won't work. It smells dangerous. And the crusty dishes have piled up, waiting for the plumber I still haven't called. This is the everyday we spoke of. It's winter again. The sky's a deep, headstrong blue, and the sunlight pours through the open living room windows because the heat's on too high in here, and I can't turn it off. For weeks now, driving or dropping a bag of groceries in the street, the bag breaking, I've been thinking, this is what the living do. And yesterday, hurrying along those wobbly bricks in the Cambridge sidewalk, spilling my coffee down my wrist and sleeve, I thought it again. And again, later, when buying a hairbrush, this is it. Parking, slamming the car door shut in the cold. What you called that yearning. What you finally gave up. We want the spring to come and the winter to pass. We want whoever to call or not call, a letter, a kiss. We want more and more, and then more of it. But there are moments, walking, when I catch a glimpse of myself in the window glass, say the window of the corner video store, and I'm gripped by a cherishing so deep for my own blowing hair, chapped face, and unbuttoned coat that I'm speechless. I am living. I remember you. It's winter again. The sky's a deep, headstrong blue. And the sunlight pours through the open living room windows because the heat's on too high in here, and I can't turn it off. For weeks now, driving or dropping a bag of groceries in the street, the bag breaking, I've been thinking, this is what the living do. And yesterday, hurrying along those wobbly bricks in the Cambridge sidewalk, spilling my coffee down my wrist and sleeve, I thought it again. And again, Later, when buying a hairbrush, this is it. Parking, slamming the car door shut in the cold. What you called that yearning, what you finally gave up. We want the spring to come and the winter to pass. We want whoever to call or not call, a letter, a kiss. We want more and more, and then more of it. But there are moments walking when I catch a glimpse of myself in the window glass, say the window of the corner video store, and I'm gripped by a cherishing so deep for my own blowing hair, chapped face, and unbuttoned coat that I'm speechless. I am living. I remember you. There is a girl inside. She is randy as a wolf. She will not walk away and leave these bones to an old woman. She is a green tree in a forest of kindling. She is a green girl in a used poet. She has waited, patient as a nun, for the second coming, when she can break through gray hairs into blossom, and her lovers will harvest honey and thyme, and the woods will be wild with the damn wonder of it. She is randy as a wolf. She will not walk away and leave these bones to an old woman. She is a green tree in a forest of kindling. She is a green girl in a used poet. She has waited, patient as a nun, for the second coming, when she can break through gray hairs into blossom, and her lovers will harvest honey and thyme, and the woods will be wild with the damn wonder of it. I'm standing in a place where I once loved. The rain is falling. The rain is my home. I think words of longing, a landscape, out to the very edge of what's possible. remember you waving your hand as if wiping mist from the window pane, and your face as if enlarged from an old blurred photo. Once I committed a terrible wrong to myself and others. But the world is beautifully made for doing good and for resting like a park bench. And late in life, I discovered a quiet joy, like a serious disease that's discovered too late. Just a little time left now for quiet joy. Like a serious disease that's discovered too late. Just a little time left now for quiet joy. Just a little time left now for quiet joy. When death comes, like the hungry bear in autumn, when death comes and takes all the bright coins from his purse to buy me and snaps the purse shut. When death comes like the measles pox. When death comes like an iceberg between the shoulder blades. I want to step through the door full of curiosity, wondering, what is it going to be like? That cottage of darkness. And therefore I look upon everything as a brotherhood and a sisterhood. And I look upon time as no more than an idea, and I consider eternity as another possibility. And I think of each life as a flower, as common as a field daisy, and as singular. And each name a comfortable music in the mouth, ending as all music does, towards silence. And each body a lion of courage, and something precious to the earth. When it's over, I want to say all my life I was a bride, married to amazement. I was the bridegroom taking the world into my arms. When it's over, I don't want to wonder if I have made of my life something particular and real. I don't want to find myself sighing and frightened or full of argument. I don't want to end up simply having visited this world. So I invite you to take a few deep, long breaths through your whole energy system, really filling your body with deep breaths. And as you do, notice if there's a line or a word from one of the poems we've been steeping in. Is there a phrase or a line or a word? You may remember it, you may just remember the gist of it. But whatever comes to you, maybe it's a spontaneous word or line that's arising from the turned soil within you. When a word comes, any word, doesn't need to make sense, any line, I'd like you to write it down. And I'd like you to simply follow your pen down the page for about 6 minutes, beginning with that line. And this is what I call a blurt write. A blurt write. It's not supposed to be poetic. Doesn't even need to be English or full sentences. It's beginning with that line. See what emerges from within you to move through your pen and onto the page. My recommendation is to keep the pen moving. Don't censor. Don't worry about writing great literature. The job is to bring the inner into the outer and onto the page. Beginning with a line or a word or a phrase that has stayed with you or emerged from within you. And we will not speak for about the next 5-6 minutes as you write whatever comes to you.
You have a few seconds to finish up your writing. And come back into the circle. When you're ready, you can go back to continue the writing at a later time, if you feel moved to. And we have about 10 to 15 minutes where we can open up the circle if there's a nugget from your writing that you would like to share, or if there's just a reflection that emerged during the listening. You know, we are all ears. We are all ears, and we are all here having had this experience together. So we welcome you to step forth. You can unmute yourself and just ask that you be aware of how much you speak, since there's a fair number of people, just to give everyone a chance, or whoever wants to speak a chance to come forth.
And you can either wave at us wildly so that we see you, or you can do the electronic raising of your hands by looking at the reactions tab below and clicking on raise hand. Great. I saw a hand.
Toby.
Now
Toby.
it's on.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Jami. Hi, Kim. Thanks for doing this. Thanks, Angela and Ian. I'll get right into it.
Great.
Randy as a wolf. My youth, so passionate, gone at 70, but I don't believe it. I still feel desire, not often for sex anymore, definitely for self-expression and yoga, movement. Tons of paint, tons of paint in the Dutch pour. I love my first graders' true artwork. I want it never to stop. Why does the art teacher give assignments that keep them in boxes, constricted? It is a sin. Thank you.
I want
Thank
it
you.
never to stop. Yes, beautiful. Thank you, Toby, for
Thanks,
leading
Kim.
us off.
Thank you, Toby. And Patty Kay.
Well, first off, that was beautiful. Thank you very much. And I'm so glad the last poem kind of totally lifted me off the planet. And when it said something about forever, she was a bride married into wonder. And from there, I just kind of took flight and got all happy. So that's all I'm going to say.
Oh,
Yeah, and I
beautiful.
just want to do a shout out to the that amazing music, Jami. I've never told you that when I'm in Kenya, I play that every morning sometimes to make sure my heart is open. And it's the Mary Oliver poem When Death Comes, but it's also that incredible convergence of musical genius that happens at the moment. Mary Oliver says, all my life I want to say I was a bride married to amazement, and then this amazing music happens. So thank you, Jami, for that.
Oh, thank you. And thank you, Mary Oliver.
Yeah.
And Kim for
We have
speaking.
Maureen
Maureen.
McGay has her hand open.
Hello, glad to be here.
Mm.
There is still time to do good. There is no time not to love. I can feel it in my bones, in my blood. There's an energy flowing there now. There's no stopping it. No corralling my life force. I'm so aware of how very fragile life is now, how fragile life has always been from the womb, and how it always will be to the tomb. My mother lay dying only 2 short years ago, this very week. I visited her through a screen. She'd once said, the rules are changing. I wish I could see their faces. I'd know they care about me. But I do like this new message system that brings your face right to my door. We laughed too. She'd open her eyes between long resting periods. Hello, my sweet. No one knows how good you are, how kind. You are the only one who brings me poems. Between the many brief visits on the screen, I walked in fields of white, noticing all the life thrumming around me. The icicles drip, drip, dripping on the eaves of the shed like long eyelashes. Tears drip, drip, dripping. On the day my mother died, February 26th, I spoke to her. Mom, you're almost there. You've done it. Only a few weeks previous, she whispered to me her own poem, one she had learned as a child. Life is short, waste not your time. I want my life to be something amazing and particular. I want to know that I've done something wonderful with my life.
Mm. Mm.
Thank you.
Thank you, Maureen. You're the only one that brings me poems.
The only one that ever will. I know.
Now she's bringing poems out of you.
Yes.
And Melody, do you want to unmute yourself, Melody?
Hi, I'm Melody. Island Beach, where Corey is waiting for me. Also in the snow, cold, making snow angels with Chloe. Traveling with Corey home to Texas. Time together, just me and my son driving in the U-Haul. Slamming the door to Cindy as she has to me. Back to the island where my son takes me to the beach for the last time before he dies. The last picture he took of us, gone forever, closing the door, never again to see him. 3/23/22. Hashtag Corey gone forever. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing.
The music was beautiful too. It really just made me really picture him, and I hold my bear because it has his voice in it and his Halloween costume. So, thank you.
And you have an anniversary coming up now, and so we hold you in that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Melody.
Thank you, Valerie, my sister, who got me here.
No. Thank you, Valerie.
So appreciate it.
And Angelo?
Yeah, I'm happy to be a male. I think you women are much better at sharing your emotions than we men, but in any event, I'm happy to be a male, trying to do that. I caught a glimpse of myself I was walking through life, all these windows, these explorations. I caught a glimpse of myself. There was the boy, the useful one. He didn't know anything but what he saw, what it all meant. He just walked through life, these impressions, these feelings, these emotions. He didn't know anything but what he saw. He attempted to give language to what he saw. He attempted to give language to the feelings he felt. There was the boy. There was the young man, the emerging one, full of vim and vigor, filled with pride. He thought he knew the meanings, the textures, the rhythms, all of which were more or less mysteries. There was the old man, the more or less settled one, closer to the end of his life than the beginning, the contextualizer, the meaning maker, the old man who felt within him the innocence of the young boy, the sense-making eroticism of the young man. He caught a glimpse of himself. He did, walking through this passage calmly toward the certainty of death.
Mm. Mm. Closer to the end of his life than to the beginning. Mm. Beautiful autobiography.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
We have a couple more minutes. Anyone else?
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be from your writing. It might just be your experience of listening. If you'd like to share it.
I'll also add that if anyone has any questions, this could now be a great time for that as well.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever you feel.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you, Kim, while this is going on, speak the poets?
Right, I will.
Actually, there's.
I'll say the
Hope.
names of the poems and the authors, but also if you do get either the download or the CD from Jami's site, maybe Jami, you can put the link for the CD. You will see the list that I am about to read.
Can
The
you
first
hold on one
poem.
second? Wait, can you hold on once? Because one person did come forth, Becky.
Oh, okay.
And then we'll go to the list. Sorry. So this will be the last voice. Two.
Yeah, Hope as well.
Okay. So Becky, and then we'll go to Hope. Becky, do you want to say something?
I think you're on silent, Rebecca or Becky.
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
We can.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you both for the music and for the words. They were so beautiful, and I felt myself opening up within that. And I clung to the first words that you talked about with having a wave of sorrow washing over me. And I won't read everything I wrote because I really did kind of, open up to it, but I'll just tell you where I finished. And that was swim and let that wave wash over me until it gently falls away and is replaced by eternal love.
Mm. 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 So beautiful. Mm. Thank you for
Becky.
giving us that.
Mm-hmm.
Mm. Hope, do you want to unmute? Yeah.
I'll just read a small bit of this. I remember you as I gaze through the reflections of my life, days upon the earth. I am opening to the time that is left. I come to the threshold. My changes are not over. Freshly I walk across the sands of time, opening to possibility. I remember you, loving the world, loving together adventures. Come find me again, hold me close. I am yours.
Mm. Come find me again. Yeah, opening to the time that is left.
Thank you.
And that's a line from the third poem that we heard. The line is "I remember you," that began Hope's writing. The third poem we heard is a poem by Marie Howe called "What the Living Do." Begins, "Johnny, the kitchen sink has been clogged for days," and it ends with "I remember you." What the Living Do by Marie Howe. The first poem is a poem by Langston Hughes called "Island." Wave of sorrow, do not drown me now. Followed by a poem by Stanley Kunitz called "The Layers." I have walked through many lives, some of them my own. Followed by What the Living Do by Marie Howe. And then There Is a Girl Inside by Lucille Clifton. She is randy as a wolf. There Is a Girl Inside by Lucille Clifton. She is randy as a wolf. And then beautiful poem by an Israeli poet named Yehuda Amichai, Amichai. It's called "A Quiet Joy." He says, "Only a little time left now for quiet joy." That's Yehuda Amichai, an Israeli poet, translated by Hannah Block. And the final poem was by Mary Oliver, called "When Death Comes." Mary Oliver, "When Death Comes." So thank you all for your deep, deep listening. And it's a joy to share this with you. There are many, many, many voices and people whose artistry went into Feast of Losses, not just Jami and me. There are many amazing musicians. Jami doesn't play the clarinet, at least not yet, but who knows what could happen. So the voices of the instruments that you heard and the engineer, and I also want to do a shout out to Suzanne Albertson, who's here, who did this amazing design of our album. So I know most people don't have CD players anymore, but even if you get a download, you'll also get a download of the artwork. So never fear.
And also just a reminder that this album is not at this moment able to be streamed, but you can order it as a physical CD or digital download from my website. I've put it into the chat. And thank you all. And within the artwork that you get online, there is an invitation for everyone to host their own deep listening gatherings. And as you can see how rich it is, just to gather your dear friends, your family together, listen and see what arises and what emerges in the conversation as we move through our lives. So feel free to share this experience with others.
I think you should stick it on Audible. Let us hear it that way.
That's a very good idea.
That's a very good idea.
Thank you. Yeah. We're very open to ideas about how to share the word, as it were, and we're grateful to Angelo and Ian for helping us to spread the word.
Yes. Thank you, Angelo and Ian.
So much.